Hi there, welcome to Hedera Wyckoff Technical Analysis session. And last week we shared about the scenario where the inclined view of myself looking at the chart is 60% towards the upside, maybe even reaching an upthrust, and then 40% towards the downside, showing a sign of weakness. And let's see what has happened. So this is the weekly chart, and last session we talked about this triangle, and then we said it's going to break out, and then indeed it broke to the downside because that's a descending triangle, but it immediately found support around the orange key level of 21 cents, and then took a U-turn, now almost testing the yellow key level of 0.25. So that's the interesting bit about this. Now that this downward trend is over, we don't need this line anymore. The volume has been declining consistently. There's still a little bit less than 3 days left for this week's candle, so things can still change. However, since it has already passed this yellow dashed support line, if it stays above, it's just a matter of time that it's going to continue to challenge and break above this yellow key level. And you already noticed there's another triangle over here that's around October 20th. So if the price continues to trade in a way that's above this blue line over here, that it will narrow into this corner, and if it really plays out as the candlestick pattern analysis of an ascending triangle, then it should eventually break out to the upside. We all know there are outlier scenarios which may not always follow the textbook definitions. So let's see, by mid-October, would this follow the track of an ascending triangle according to candlestick pattern analysis, while this higher peaks seemingly heading towards an upthrust over here. Well, at least it has to get to the light blue key level before we can consider, like, going past that level before we can consider that an upthrust, because the buying climax over there was touching, or like at its high point, above the both the blue levels. So the big picture probably, I would say, hasn't changed much, because it's still, I'll still keep these percentage the same, and the price is still being traded within this upward trend channel box, this rectangular shape over here. So if it doesn't fall outside of this box from now till mid-late October and continue the uptrend towards here, it's just a matter of time that it reaches the upthrust. And let's take a look at the daily chart as well. So in daily, currently we don't see a squeeze in the Bollinger Band corner squeeze indicator. However, the lines are pretty close. If it comes down and trades sideways, then it will quickly form another squeeze, much like here. So the previous squeeze kind of pushed the price a little bit lower. It's not a big swing, just a little push. Compared to this push over here, it went all the way up. So back to the Wyckoff. Previously we asked the question, so was this a selling climax? If it was, looks like it is, assuming that's the case, let's turn off the Bollinger Band squeeze, then this happened on the 2nd, was the automatic rally, and then we've got some subsequent tests. This may be the sign of strength over here, this candle that pops up right there. So if I change it to a line chart, yeah, we see a little bump over here. It's not obvious because honestly, daily charts are very noisy if we want to do the Wyckoff analysis. So it's more like an experimental way to look at the daily time frame, because my preference is to look at the weekly. So this climb, it may well be the PSY, and then it's probably going to climb to a buying climax somewhere later. So I'll put a question mark here. So this, if this was an accumulation, we won't have that UTAD anymore, because it will be a new buying climax, a new distribution cycle. So let's see what I have not covered. So if it's a BC, we're assuming it will happen in the next few days, then obviously it would exhibit a little bit of downward movement, that's automatic reaction, and eventually there may be a second test. So I'm just putting these tags ahead and see whether it's going to happen eventually when like times goes on before our next session, because they can happen very quickly, and by the time we get to the next session they already have all happened, much like what I have put in earlier here that you saw me removed all the question marks. So that's how quickly things can evolve on the daily chart. So remember, Hedera is still within the upward trend channel box, and the volume themselves doesn't indicate much of a chaos, especially the selling volume isn't that high, and the Wyckoff stages we keep pretty much the same view as of now. So thanks for